All right, welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're taking a look at Ready Player One by Ernest Cline. We've got a whole bunch of stuff to dig through here, reviews, articles, even the Wikipedia page. Should be fun to see what made this book such a hit.
And what it tells us about ourselves, right? Like this idea of escaping into a virtual world.
Yeah. It was published back in 2011, set in 2045.
Dystopian future, everyone's plugged into this VR world called the Oasis.
And it's not just for fun, it's like how people live their lives.
Work, school, relationships, everything.
Exactly. And right in the middle of all that, we have Wade Watts, our main guy.
He's hunting for this Easter egg hidden inside the Oasis by its creator, James Halliday.
Big prize, too. Halliday's entire fortune.
And control of the Oasis itself.
Talk about high stakes. But what's really fascinating is how this whole VR thing exploded in the real world, like right after the book came out.
Oculus started development pretty much at the same time.
It's almost like Cline predicted it, or maybe he just tapped into this, like, deep-seated desire we all have.
Is this yearning for escape? Yeah.
Right. But back in the book, it's not all fun and games in the Oasis, though. Wade's got some serious competition.
Oh, yeah. He's up against other gunters. That's what they call the Easter egg hunters, by the way.
Gunters. Gotta love that.
But the real threat is this massive corporation, IOI.
The bad guys.
They want to take over the Oasis, turn it into one giant money-making machine.
Ads everywhere, paywalls, the whole 9 yards.
Totally goes against the whole idea of a free and open virtual world.
So Wade's not just playing a game, he's fighting for the future of the Oasis itself.
Yeah.
Kind of makes you think, what would happen if something like that happened in the real world?
Who would you root for? The lone wolf fighting for freedom.
Or the corporation with all the power.
Tough choices, right?
It is. But while you're thinking about that, let's see what people thought of the book itself.
All right, so the StoryGraph data shows it's pretty highly rated overall.
People liked it.
Yeah, but one common criticism is that the characters aren't super deep.
They're a little flat, maybe?
Maybe. Could be that Cline was more focused on the world building.
All that cool 80s stuff.
Exactly. It's like he poured his heart and soul into creating this amazing virtual world.
Maybe the characters just got a little lost in the shuffle.
Possibly. But then there's the other side of the coin. Some folks found all those 80s references to be a bit much.
Too much nostalgia.
Yeah, and Wikipedia even mentions that some people thought it was excessive.
So is it a love letter to a bygone era, or just a bunch of inside jokes that only some people get?
Good question. I mean, it obviously resonated with a lot of readers.
Right. One reviewer even called it literary cocaine.
Addictive, huh?
Definitely grabbed people's attention.
Yeah.
But this whole thing about escaping into VR, it brings up an interesting point from one of those Medium articles we have.
Oh, about the potential of VR to actually make the world a better place.
Yeah. It's a stark contrast to the whole escapism theme in Ready Player One.
Makes you wonder if we're using technology to run away from our problems.
Or to solve them, right. Like Ready Player One is all about fun and adventure, but it also makes you stop and think about our relationship with technology.
Are we letting it control us?
Or are we using it for good? Something to ponder, right?
Absolutely. And that's what makes this book so interesting to discuss.
It's more than just a fun read. It's got these deeper layers that make you think about the world around you.
And about your own place in it.
Exactly. And that's what we're all about here on the Deep Dive. So stay tuned. We'll be back after the break to talk more about the characters, the plot, and all the crazy 80s references that Cline throws at us.
Welcome back. Now, where were we? Oh, yeah, we were about to dive into the characters a little bit more. They're not just there for the ride.
Each one plays a specific role, right? Like Wade, obviously, he's our hero.
Parzival in the Oasis, right. Pretty clever name, too, if you know your Arthurian legends.
Knight on a quest, searching for the Holy Grail.
Exactly. Wade's journey is all about striving for something greater, overcoming obstacles.
Classic underdog story.
And then you've got Arthremus, the super cool, super spilled gunter.
Wade's online crush.
More than just a crush, she's a competitor, a strong female character with her own goals.
Her name, too. Arthremus, like Artemis, the Greek goddess.
Goddess of the hunt, fitting, right. She's not just in it for the money or the fame.
There's something deeper driving her.
And then there's Each, Wade's best friend in the Oasis.
The one who always has his back.
But here's the twist. Each, who appears as this white male avatar, is actually Helen Harris in real life.
A black lesbian.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's such a brilliant way to explore themes of identity, how we present ourselves online.
Are we being our true selves, or creating these idealized versions?
Big question, especially in today's world.
And then we have Ogden Morrow, the co-creator of the Oasis.
The Willy Wonka of this whole thing.
He's like the wise old mentor figure, guiding Wade along the way.
Offering a different perspective on technology, more idealistic.
Compared to Nolan Sorrento, the bad guy, the head of IOI.
Sorrento's all about profit, control, the complete opposite of Halliday's vision.
Classic clash of ideals.
And this battle between good and evil, it plays out in this epic showdown at the end.
The fate of the Oasis hanging in the balance.
And Cline goes all out here, throws in everything from giant robots to classic video game tropes.
It's a spectacle, a visual feast for anyone who grew up playing those old games.
But it also highlights the high stakes involved.
IOI even uses this doomsday device, the Cataclysm.
Wipes out everyone in the area.
Talk about desperate measures.
Mm-hmm.
But Wade, he survives thanks to a clever trick.
Uses an old video game Easter egg.
It's like poetry, right? The way everything comes full circle.
And in the end, he wins. Wade gets the egg, inherits Halliday's fortune, controls the Oasis.
The ultimate geek dream come true.
But it also raises questions about responsibility. What happens when someone with so much passion suddenly gains all this power?
Do they stay true to their ideals?
Or do they get corrupted? Well, according to Spark Notes, Wade does the right thing.
Uses his power to keep the Oasis free and open.
Which is kind of a hopeful message, even though it's still a fictional story.
Right, but it makes you think about the real world, all these tech giants with so much influence.
What are their motivations? Are they using their power for good or for profit?
Tough questions. But Ready Player One at least gives us some food for thought.
Definitely. And it's not just about the big picture stuff either. The book also touches on relationships, human connection.
Even in this virtual world, people crave real connections.
Wade realizes that true fulfillment comes from real-life experiences.
Which is a good reminder for all of us, especially now when we're all so connected online.
It's easy to get lost in the digital world.
And forget about the importance of face-to-face interaction.
But going back to that Medium article, VR can be a tool for good.
It has the potential to connect people, build empathy.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
Right. It's about how we choose to use technology, whether we build walls or bridges.
And then there's the whole 80s nostalgia thing.
Can't forget about that. Some people loved it, some people hated it.
But maybe it's more than just nostalgia. Maybe it's about connecting with a time that was similar to ours.
How so?
Think about it. The 80s had all this rapid technological change, social and political upheaval.
Sounds familiar.
People were uncertain about the future, just like we are now.
So maybe Cline was using the 80s as a way to reflect on our own anxieties about the present.
It's a way to say, we've been through tough times before, we can get through this too.
Wow. That's actually a really interesting way to look at it.
Gives the book a whole new layer of meaning.
Makes it even more relevant to our lives today.
And that's the power of a good story. It can entertain, make us think, help us make sense of the world.
Speaking of stories, we haven't even talked about the movie adaptation yet.
Spielberg directed it, came out in 2018.
Big budget, special effects, the whole shebang.
Did it live up to the hype? Did it capture the magic of the book?
That's what we're going to find out in the next part of our deep dive. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our look at Ready Player One, and now we're finally going to talk about the movie.
The 2018 adaptation, directed by Steven Spielberg, no less.
That's right. Bringing this super complex virtual world to the big screen, it was a huge undertaking.
Yeah, and Spielberg's known for those big visual spectacles.
Exactly. So it seemed like a good fit, at least on paper.
And did it work? I'd say for the most part, yeah. Visually, the film is incredible.
Oh, absolutely. The Oasis just pops on the screen, all these bright colors, crazy details.
You really feel like you're right there in the middle of it.
And the action sequences are insane. Pure adrenaline-pumping fun.
They really captured the energy of the book, that sense of excitement and wonder.
And the performances are pretty solid, too, I thought.
Yeah, Ty Sheridan as Wade does a good job, and Mark Rylance as Halliday is fantastic. Really brings that character to life.
But what about those criticisms we talked about earlier, like the whole character development thing?
Yeah, did the film manage to flesh out the characters a bit more?
Well, I think they tried, but it's tough to cram all that detail into a 2-hour movie.
You have to make choices, streamline the story.
Exactly. So some of the nuances might have gotten lost in the process.
But overall, I think they did a decent job with the main characters, at least.
I agree. And as for the 80s nostalgia, well, let's just say Spielberg didn't hold back.
Oh, no, he went all out. It's like an explosion of 80s references, one after another.
You've got iconic movies, video games, music, everything.
If you grew up in the 80s, you'll probably love it.
It's a pure nostalgia trip. But for others, it might be a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, some people might find it distracting. Too much of a good thing.
But I think that's kind of the point. The book was all about celebrating that era.
And Spielberg just amplified it for the big screen.
So yeah, it's a mixed bag, visually stunning, super entertaining.
But maybe not as deep or nuanced as the book.
Which is understandable. Adaptations are always tricky.
It's a different medium, you have to make compromises.
But I think both the book and the film ultimately deliver the same message.
That technology can be a powerful tool.
But it's up to us to use it wisely.
To connect with each other, to build a better world.
To create our own adventures.
And maybe, just maybe, to find a little bit of hope along the way.
Well said. And on that note, we're wrapping up our deep dive into Ready Player One.
Thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the journey.
And remember, whether you're plugging into a virtual world or exploring the real one,
keep your minds open.
Stay curious and never stop diving deep